All right, it's been a while since we've connected for a Sundays with Serby. In fact, we didn't bring you an episode of this series during the month of March. Just to let the viewing audience know why, it's because the great New York Post sports columnist Steve Serby has been living a life on the road. He was covering the Big East tournament and the women's Final Four, so a very busy man. But Mr. Serby is back, and he's ready to roll for all-new Sundays with Serby. And this week, Steve did his weekly Q&A with a former NFL offensive lineman. That would be Brian Baldinger. And Steve is going to join us now. He's back in the fold. How you doing, Steve?
Good to see you again, Dex. I missed you while I was in Albany watching Caitlin Clark, and then Cleveland watching the amazing Caitlin Clark, who will be drafted on tomorrow night in Brooklyn.
Yeah, you got to see some pretty amazing things, and you were around the women's game, which is growing so beautifully. So, but I missed you too, man. I missed you too. But here we are, back doing Sundays with Serby. And this week, Steve, as I said, you spoke to Brian Baldinger, and you spoke to him a lot about the NFL draft with a great focus on the Giants. And Baldinger believes the G-men need to add a receiver to the roster via the draft. Who does he think the Giants should target at receiver with their first-round pick?
Well, his top receiver is Rome Odunze from Washington, who he refers to as a bigger, stronger, faster Garrett Wilson. He also believes he is a faster Davante Adams. So he believes that if there is no quarterback worth trading up, if he was Joe Schoen, he would not trade up for a quarterback, a J.J. McCarthy or a Drake Maye. He would sit tight at number 6 and get the number 1 receiver that Daniel Jones has never had, that the Giants last had with Odell Beckham Jr. in 2018. He loves Odunze better than Marvin Harrison Jr. because of his hands. He dropped 3 passes all year last year, and he'll go up and get the ball. He's smooth, and he's a high-character guy, and he fits the smart, tough, dependable mantra that Joe Schoen and Brian Dable have embraced. Now, a win-win for the Giants in Baldinger's eyes would be getting a number 1 receiver like Odunze and then trading back into the first round if they have the opportunity to pick up Bo Nix or Michael Penix. And Penix, by the way, looks to be now a locked-in number 1 pick. So there it is from Brian Baldinger, Baldy's Breakdowns, the best in the business. The man knows his football like no other, and he likes the wide receiver. Get the quarterback later is his thing. Build around the quarterback, and at some point, find the right quarterback to plug right in with a team with weapons around him.
All right, so we got the wide receiver that he likes in Baldy's Breakdown, and Baldinger thinks that it's also time for Big Blue to find a quarterback in this year's draft. And I got to ask this, Steve, is he talking about for the future, saying that they may not believe in Daniel Jones? And if that's the case, who do you think they may have their eye on in the upcoming draft? And where in the draft does he think they could find a quarterback? You talked about trading back late into the first round. And does he like Nix? Does he like Penix Jr.? Who does he like at the quarterback position for the G-men?
He likes Nix. It sounds like he likes Penix even better. Nobody can throw the ball with velocity and deep the way Penix does. Look at what he did with Odunze. That would be a nice reunion in a Giant uniform. Penix throwing to Odunze. But, Baldinger believes that it's time for the Giants to consider to move on from Daniel Jones. He's not hardly alone in that assessment, but the injury history, of course, with the 2 neck injuries and the ACL is a big concern. And if it was up to Baldinger, he would have signed Justin Fields to take over as quarterback, and he would have been happy with Russell Wilson signing, instead of signing with the Steelers, having the Giants sign him, and he believes Russell Wilson would have beaten Daniel Jones out. He's concerned with Daniel Jones' injury history and his ability to elevate the players around him. So And as far as the Jets, you didn't ask me about the Jets, but I'm just going to volunteer some Jet information.
Please do.
From Baldinger. At number 10, he would not take Brock Bowers, the tight end. He would draft another offensive tackle because he'd be concerned about the health of Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, the two tackles pegged to start now at left and on the right side, Morgan Moses right, Tyron Smith left. So a number 1 draft pick for the present and the future, because those are both one-year deals that Smith and Moses signed. And his point about not drafting Bowers is you got to have a plan for a guy like that, the way the Chiefs had a plan, have had a plan for Kelsey, the way the Ravens have had a plan for Mark Andrews. And I happen to agree with him. I had Bowers in my 3rd mock draft, and I am strongly considering one of the elite tackles as insurance for Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses with that 10th pick. The other option, depending on Joe Douglas's draft board, is trading down because there are a whole bunch of offensive tackles, and Baldinger, or Baldy as we all know him, no one loves offensive tackles more than he does, having played the offensive line in the NFL. And so if you can trade down, depending on Joe Douglas's draft board, and pick up a 2nd-round pick that you lost to the Packers in the Aaron Rodgers deal, then do that and get one of the quality offensive tackles in this year's draft.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what the Jets and Giants do in the upcoming draft. Just a little bit under 2 weeks away. We'll see how that all plays out. That is Steve Serby. Check out his Q&A. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I asked Baldinger, he's from Massapequa, Long Island, if he happened to run into the Gilgo Beach serial killer who lived not far from him, and he said no. He thought that the bottom of the barrel for him was Joey Buttafuoco, who also lived in Massapequa.
I thought you asked if he ran into him. I thought you'd be asking if he was trying to run away from him. That feels like that would be more of the thing he would want to do in that situation.
Yeah, that would be a pretty good idea, as it turned out. But, yeah, the wrong reasons. Baldinger has put Massapequa on the map for the right reasons. Gilgo Beach serial killer and Joey Buttafuoco, the wrong reasons.
The wrong reasons. Glad for that anecdote there. That is Steve Serby, the great New York Post sports columnist, back with us for Sundays with Serby. Steve, another great Q&A at nypost.com.
By the way, I hope your director isn't mad, Brianna. I hope she's not mad at me. I try to remain frozen in this shot, but I can't do it. I can't do it.
See, the people need to know Brianna is the one who makes all the magic happen. She tells us to scooch left or right. That is her word of choice, and likes to make sure that we are perfectly centered. You deviated. I did not.
My apologies to Brianna.
Yeah, next time, stay in the center, Steve. That's what we want. Stay in the center. Stay centered. You can do
I'm not the pro that you are. I can't sit frozen in one spot the way you can. You're a master at it.
I'm not sure if that's a compliment if I'm sitting frozen, but okay. Either way, we'll take it. That is the great Steve Serby. Steve, we'll see you next week on Sundays with Serby. Thank you, man.
See you next. Thank you, and thanks, Brianna.